Good morning and welcome to day 6 of this 30-day adventure to great photos. I hope your quest for the right scene yesterday went well. Have you noticed all the different scenes you could be using in order to tell better stories? What have you thought about it, and which one? I think this is a really cool one because it can help define your style. Which ones were you the most attracted to? Seeing the scenes is essential because today we're going to be talking about composition. Composition is basically how do you organize your scene? How do you place each element in order to have a better impact with your image? Again, you want to have an impact, you want to be able to tell something, have an emotional response, and for that you need to be able to show your subject or the topic of your photo as fast as possible to the person who looks at it. Composition will help you get there, and there are a lot of composition, I would say rules, although I don't like to say rules because, it means that you're restricted, but there is no restriction. It's just guidelines that are good to follow at one point, and then when you know them, you can move away from them. Today, I want to talk about one that is very important, which is symmetry. Why symmetry? Symmetry because it is very easy using symmetry to find a subject in an image. Let me explain what symmetry is. First of all, symmetry is when you have an axis in the middle splitting an image in half, meaning the pattern on one side repeats on the other. It could be horizontal, vertical, diagonal, it doesn't really matter as long as we have the same patterns repeating on both sides. Let me give you real examples with photos. The first example was in the Chicago airport. We can see that we have that long alley leading towards. We have that ceiling that is going deep in the photo, and the lines on the left are repeating on the right. We also have the pillars on the left and on the right repeating. They're similar, and if I wanted to place a subject in that image, I would most likely place him by the intersection kind of all those lines so that your eye is directed towards that point. Very easy and efficient way of placing a subject in an image. The second example was shot in Paris in an underground. There is this really cool tunnel with tons of lights, and we took a long exposure, and as you can see we have those lines on the left repeating on the right, but also the bottom and the top. And if you notice, some of the lines are not perfect, but the patterns are repeated and are similar, which creates that feeling of symmetry. And we have an axis that's horizontal and one that is vertical. Another example was shot at night in Indonesia. We have that palm tree kind of acting as an axis of symmetry, repeating the pattern of that little hut on the left and on the right. And in that image, what is interesting is that it's not the same person that is on the left and on the right, but with symmetry, you can also repeat ideas of concept. You don't have to be exactly the same person on each side. It's all about patterns and concepts, okay? Now, another example was shot in Tokyo. We have that pedestrian crossing that is repeating on the top and at the bottom, but also in diagonal on the left and on the right. And if you notice how people are placed, they're not spread out evenly, which actually creates an unbalance in that photo, which I find really interesting. We have that perfect symmetry, but then we have unbalance with people, which is great in my opinion. So this is how you want to be thinking about in your images. I want you for today, your mission is going to go out and find compositions with symmetry. I want you to look at leading lines on roads, leading lines with pillars. I want you to really pay attention and find symmetry all around you, okay? So in your workbook, you're going to write down what is your axis of symmetry, what is a pattern that is being repeated on each side, and how would you use it. For example, where would you place a subject in that scene with that particular composition? All right, good luck. I'll see you tomorrow for a new episode.